some hotel assets will have intellectual property if they, especially if they're like a soft branded hotel. And even though, like for instance, the Hilton Curio Collection, they're a Hilton property, right? They're branded by Hilton. They go through the Hilton loyalty system and the booking systems, the reservation systems, and Hilton is the franchisor. But the neat thing about Curios, one of these soft brands, is that you don't even have to have the name Hilton on the hotel, right? It could be something else. Like for instance, in Houston, there's the Sam Houston. It's been around 100 years. It's historic, and everyone just knows it as the Sam Houston. But if you look at the front door on the glass door, it says Hilton Curio product, right? And so they have their own branding. They have their own IP. That's an example of it. And if you're going to buy that hotel, you need to own that IP. And so you got to see if there are trademarks. If so, and you want a whole collection. It's usually an exhibit to the purchase sale agreement. You require them to identify and deliver like all the information about the IP, copyrights, trademarks, anything that would fall under what we call the Lanham Act, which governs these things. And you got to make sure they're registered. You just look through the viability and the integrity of any IP and what's necessary, so certainly name, that's the big one, of course, naming. And anything else that you have that's going on that's unique to that asset. This comes up a lot more in like resort type hotels. Like there are like the Gaylord Hotel in Grapevine, Texas, for example. They have this Christmas Wonderland thing they do. And it's kind of like and they own these naming for it. And so it's like there are intellectual property rights that are associated with a program that they run out of there and is associated in everyone's name with that hotel in that location. And so I would assume, I don't know anything about, I don't know the hotel, but I mean, I've stayed there, but I don't know anything about the ownership, but I assume that they have properly registered their trademarks and they have copyright protection on some of their IP. And if I were buying that hotel, it'd be one of the very first things I'd look at. I want a list of all their intellectual property and how it's managed and how it's kept and the viability of it and whether or not there's renewals that are coming up and if there's a schedule and who oversees it, that kind of thing. And so IP can be a big deal. From the brand perspective, if you're Marriott, you need to there's a couple of things you need to make sure. You won't even give a franchise to someone unless you think they're sophisticated enough to run the operation properly, right? Sometimes they'll require you to hire a third-party management. You can't manage it yourself. They'll require you until you're qualified or trained to get a third-party manager. That's how serious they are about their brand being protected. And again, the property improvement plans. And also they have those regular annual they have these investigations. They'll send people unannounced, and they'll also give you announcements on some of them. But there's different types of inspections and investigations that go on. And then, of course, people are always giving in their, they get a certain rating system. And if you fall below, but they have a green, yellow, red system. And if for a particular quarter you fall within a certain system, you're going to get in-person visits by Marriott representatives, both unannounced and announced. And they're going to go through the whole thing. They're going to see how they're welcomed at the desk. They're going to see how they're going to test all kinds of things. And you can threaten to lose your brand. And the reason why that has such a big impact, the reason why people like to be part of the Marriott system or the Hilton system, Marriott has the largest brand loyalty program in the world. In fact, just recently, this last year, they announced that they took all the hotels in Vegas that are under the MGM brand. All those hotels are now part of the Marriott brand loyalty system. You can book all those, right? Like Cosmopolitan was one of the first ones. It was the largest hotel purchase ever. And it was several years ago, and it became a Marriott. I could book the Cosmopolitan in Las Vegas through my Marriott, reward loyalties program. And so when you have that kind of people, there are people who will only travel at Marriott properties because they're building up their points. They got their brand loyalty. They'll only do that. And so being in that system, it is a massive boost to sales, to your revenues. And so getting a franchise, huge. Yeah, you pay for it, right? There's a franchise application fee, and then a percentages of the gross revenues will go to the brand, but it's almost always worth it. It's very rarely it would not be worth it. It'd be a unique type of property. But a lot of times properties can't participate because they're not in their proper condition, or they don't have the same look, right? Because certain brands, depending on the type of hotel you want, whether it's an extended stay, limited service, full service, luxury, has to meet certain qualifications to be approved. And so sometimes hotels just aren't suitable to be approved on a brand platform. But if you can be on a brand platform, you typically want to be on a brand platform because it drives so much business your way. So to lose it could have a dramatic, it could bankrupt a property, it could have a dramatic impact on the returns, on the gross revenues, and of course the bottom line on those properties. And so you don't want to lose a brand. And so you have to maintain the integrity. You have to keep your service excellent. You have to have your ratings excellent, your reviews, pass all inspections. And so these things really matter. And so we have regular, like our property management team is constantly going over these numbers and constantly having meetings, and we do our own inspections. And so we keep everyone on their toes.